got my hat.
Look, I'm Woody. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Dark Match, once again for TNA Impact, and if I don't sound too enthusiastic, it's because I'm not. As always, I am your foxy friend Backlash.
I'm Lone Warrior.
I'm Tiefus.
And I'm the fat one. Okay.
The show's been canceled, and he's still doing that joke, ladies and gentlemen.
Go on, Subrick.
And because we have nothing better to do, here is what is TNA Dixie tweeting. What Dixie Carter is tweeting. Let me prepare my incredibly accurate Dixie Carter impression. Want to share a message I got from Sting. A new era starts Sunday, Dixie. Always at my best for BFG. Only this year, it's for you and the fans.
I don't know. You sounded a bit too emotional there.
Did you?
We're really scraping the bottom of the barrel if we have to resort to Dixie Carter's Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, I just think there's a problem with it just because she's obviously trying to work the fans. And it's Twitter, for fuck's sake. It's Twitter, Dixie. And also, that's implying that any other time Sting performs, he's not doing it for the fans.
Although the real question here is which instance of working the crowd is worse? TNA's Dixie Carter's Twitter account, or when The Rock's autobiography was written entirely in the third person?
Oh, that was the Rock. That's just awesome.
Yeah, that's...
So onward and upward, or better yet, downward, a downward spiral to the go-home show for Bound for Glory. Welcome to Impact Wrestling. We start off with a video recapping something for once, where they talk about Hulk Hogan's fake retirement and Sting coming out and saying that it's fake and why should I care? I don't know. Then afterwards, we get Kurt Angle. He comes out in a suit. He calls out Bobby Roode. He says that he wants to have one more talk before their showdown on Sunday. And then other stuff happened. I was completely out of it watching this show. I did watch it, but this show is fucking stupid. I don't get why.
You know, for everyone that complained about Monday Night Raw being boring, what the fuck happened on this show? I watched it. I know I did.
Lots of annoying bullshit happened.
Raw was boring, but I swear to God, Impact was trying to confuse me to death.
Oh no. I mean, yeah, Raw was bad, but Impact, I think it was actually a bit of both. They were trying to bore us, and then they were trying to confuse us to the point of boredom, where it's like, I don't even care anymore. And then pushing
they accomplished that months ago. They accomplished that in the middle of 2010.
Well, we'll get to Raw on tomorrow night's show, but I guess we should start out with Kurt Angle coming to the ring to start the show. And basically he just calls out Bobby Roode and saying he wanted to have one last talk before their match at Bound for Glory. And I gotta be honest, I really got nothing out of this promo. I mean, I know I never complained about Bobby Roode having a promo, but we're just not getting anything new out of this, and really they're just killing time to Bound for Glory, and I really have nothing to say about this.
You know, that's a big problem too. Everyone's complaining that, you know, for the first time in a long time, we've got a true TNA original challenging for the TNA title. And he's someone that has the total package except for a developed character. And everyone's saying, no, don't go with this guy for it. He's not a developed character. There's plenty of other people are ranking Ken Anderson above this guy as someone they'd rather see for the world title.
Come on.
I've seen it. People have done it. And
well, those people are probably high on some sort of illicit substance.
Well, they are on the forums, so I don't know. But the point is, though, it's like TNA could be using this opportunity to really advance the story, give this guy some character development, but no, it's just, I love you guys, I'm going to win the title, woo! And it's, why are you wasting our time with this? We know. Stop doing the super green, I love the fans, I'm a baby face kind of thing. And let's get to know this guy. What drives him? What is going on in his head? What is the emotional hook? And there's just none.
Well, of course they should be doing that, but as we'll get into by the end of the show, the writers are right now focusing on what to do with Jeff Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that's where what little creativity this company has is putting its stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, just the promo itself, it wasn't that good. It was basically a typical Kurt Angle promo where it's like, oh yeah, you beat these guys, but I'm the top dog, I'm the unbeatable. Okay, obviously Kurt doesn't talk like that, but he was basically saying, I'm the guy you have to beat, and Rude going, oh yeah, well I'll beat you, and it was went back and forth. Although they did shake hands, and did they? I could have sworn they shook hands.
Yeah, they shook hands.
They did.
Okay, yeah, they shook hands, and then Kurt goes to leave, and then stops and turns back and says, oh yeah, you've got a match tonight against Jeff Jarrett and Gunner.
Because apparently Kurt Angle has the booking power.
Oh, he's an immortal. He can do that kind of shit.
I don't think it's that he booked the match. It's that he was just reporting what the people that with the booking power, who are his buddies now since he's an immortal, booked. So
yes. So later tonight we will get Bobby Roode versus Jeff Jarrett and Gunner. What an exciting match this will be.
What's the point of having the bookers as on-screen characters if they're not the ones announcing the matches?
I don't know. But
Hulk Hogan is too busy, hoping that his back doesn't die when he wrestles Sting, and Eric Bischoff's too busy fucking Tracy Brooks.
Although, I will give him credit. I'll give this promo credit for one thing. When Rude came out, it looked really, really good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because they're not in Orlando, but...
Well, speaking of them not being in Orlando, I know that TNA has used an over-reliance on canned heat ever since they had to come out during a pay-per-view and tell the crowd, hey, stop booing.
You're part of the cast?
Tonight, this was even worse.
Oh, it sounds like a dull roar throughout the show.
Oh, blatant.
Although they did do a good job arranging the people throughout the arena so it looked like the arena was full. And you had to strain your eyes a little bit to see it, but the arena was not full.
Well, they moved everyone onto the side that the hard camera was
Yeah,
facing.
and they did some creative lighting so you couldn't see that the seats in the top were empty. But
yeah, and I think the most egregious example of them piping in, crowd noise was at the end when, Hogan's beating up Sting, and you hear the crowd like screaming in fucking rage, and then you look at the crowd and they're just sort of like, okay,
I'm here.
Yeah, and because I think it was during this promo or the upcoming match, where it's like you could hear this dull roar the entire time of the crowd's supposed to be, making all this noise, and then you look at the crowd and they're like,
what?
Yep.
Don't care.
Yeah, even in the next match when they're chanting stuff, and this happens throughout the whole night. They're chanting something, and it sounds like the whole crowd is chanting, and then you look at like the first people in the you look at like the first row, and there's maybe 8 or 9 people actually chanting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were doing one of their, panning across the front row things, and they did one guy before realizing, wait, none of these people care. Abort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TNA's learning, although
after this wonderful.
They're learning, but too slowly.
Anyways, let's move on from this segment. This is where the show started to get really confusing, because we move on from this segment right to a backstage brawl with no setup. It's Jerry Lynn and Christopher Daniels fighting with RVD and AJ Styles.
Two feuds that have nothing to do with each other.
And we go to commercial break. We come back, and they've brawled to the stage, and they go down to the ring, and all of a sudden there's a referee in the ring, and the bell rings.
It's like
apparently this was a match.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a match itself, it was okay. I mean, the guys involved are good enough, but
Rob Van Dam decides not to phone it in.
Yeah, but there's nothing behind this match. Like you can, I mean, Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn in 2011. The match they had earlier in the year was good, and obviously nowhere close to, their old matches. But why would I want to pay to see, a 50-year-old Jerry Lynn wrestling in 2011?
Against RVD, I think it's because of where the pay-per-view is going to be. That's the only reason why they're doing this.
Yeah, they're really trying to bank on the ECW nostalgia with that. It's like, hey, remember the 90s when these guys had like an epic series of matches? You guys will like that, won't you?
They're doing
Please
the same
watch your
thing with
pay-per-view.
Sting and Hogan, though, too. It's like, guys, seriously, cut the fucking shit out. I mean...
And even with Daniels and AJ, it's the feud that, has been going on and off for years now, and the matches are getting pretty predictable. I mean, I haven't really seen the bulk of the AJ versus Daniels matches, but even I'm kind of seeing, things that were in from like 2005.
Either way you go, if you've seen one of them by now, you've seen them all.
And on the subject of Jerry Lynn, remember last time he was scheduled to headline a pay-per-view?
No-showed.
Yeah, pretty much.
The motherfucker no-showed.
No, he had an injury.
No, he was injured.
Yeah.
Oh, he was injured? Oh.
Yeah, so they threw Sabu.
They threw bald Sabu in there. No botches spectacularly.
Yeah.
But yeah, this match, it was okay. I mean, there's no emotional investment from anyone behind this match, and AJ Styles wins with a Styles Clash on Jerry Lynn. Woohoo!
He hasn't used a Styles Clash in a while. It's actually nice to see that again.
At least they're not having the guys that are in the match against each other pin each other.
Yeah, that's
They kind of sit there, so at least that's good.
Yeah, and it was a decent match, but at the same time, still better than the next one, though.
Yeah. Samoa Joe versus Matt Morgan. Run away.
Yeah, talk about lack of emotional investment.
Yeah.
Especially when we get to what the finish is. This match, I believe, was no more than 2 minutes.
Yeah, and
they started these guys on a feud last year, and no one gave a shit then, and they haven't done a damn thing to further the angle at all. These guys don't like each other. Watch them fight. That's the feud. That is it. Anytime you see these two go at it, that is the feud. That's like every Samoa Joe feud. Samoa Joe doesn't like this guy. Watch them fight. Why doesn't he like him? He doesn't like him. Okay.
Can you give me any more specific reason?
He doesn't like him.
Oh, good enough.
They had a match later.
Here's the bullshittiest part. Morgan won on a roll-up. Samoa Joe, formerly the most feared independent wrestler in the world, is now losing by roll-up to Matt Morgan.
You hear that? Did you guys hear that? Do you guys hear that?
Yeah, I think I heard Magpie Soul break.
No, it's Genghis who freaks out whenever there's a roll-up finish.
Actually, I think it was a bit of both.
I heard
Jenga screaming in agony from the roll-up, and then Magpie Soul just breaking a little bit more.
I don't know. When I heard that, there was a crack in my ceiling all of a sudden.
And then, immediately afterwards, Samoa Joe gets up and starts kicking the shit out of Morgan. Why didn't he do it in the fucking match?
Because it's Samoa Joe and TNA in 2011.
Yeah, and then just to round out the stupidity, Crimson comes out limping, and he's got one of those boots that someone with a broken leg has on. And then Samoa Joe, he bails from the ring, so now he's cowardly as well. And he goes up the ramp, and he tells them every time they try to start something, Joe tries to finish it only to see them save each other. He calls them beta males who are afraid to face each other, so they become friends and go after Joe. He says that, Samoa Joe says that he wants to put them in a situation where there are no buddies and no friends, and so it will be a triple threat match at the pay-per-view between Samoa Joe, Matt Morgan, and Crimson. And then he says that they can either be alpha males or they can be friends. And woohoo. I don't care.
This is not how you book a pay-per-view. Like, even if I did give a shit about this match, which I don't, you don't book it the 2 days before the pay-per-view.
TNA pulling TNA pulling a WWE with their pay-per-view booking.
Combining two long-term feuds that no one gives a shit about is not going to make people give a shit.
And more to the point, I think it's kind of obvious that the only reason why they even added Morgan is because they were planning to have Joe win and then realized they don't want to blow Crimson's undefeated streak, air quotation marks here, on Joe. So they're going to, if Joe wins, he's going to pin Morgan.
But really, is there ever such a thing as an actual undefeated streak in professional wrestling anymore?
No.
Nope.
No,
Exactly.
There never was. Everyone loses to everyone, eventually. That's just the way it goes.
I mean, the closest that we've gotten in the last 15 years to an actual undefeated streak was Goldberg. And even then, he lost on a house show and they never recorded it.
And then there's also Undertaker's WrestleMania win streak, but that's not against anyone. That's one.
And even then,
loses to people.
that's just at one event.
He loses to those guys any other night of the year. He's willing to lose to them.
And it's worth pointing out that very early in Taker's career, when he was in WrestleMania, at least 3 of his matches ended in a DQ, in his favor. But
no, only one did. That was his.
Oh, only one.
Yeah.
With Giant Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and the only other one I can think of is Kozlov, and even then, it went from he's undefeated in singles matches to he's never been pinned to he's never submitted to
and
Bobby Lashley.
At least with Undertaker, they didn't start pushing the undefeated streak until it was already established, and they realized, hey, we've got kind of something impressive going here on accident.
Yeah. Same with Bobby Lashley. Now, when he started in WWE, his first gimmick was shoving hamburgers down Simon Dean's throat, and then he lost to JBL. Woohoo!
Yeah, well, JBL's awesome, so that's okay.
Yeah. And then, and even then, he didn't lose the undefeated streak clean, because no face ever loses their undefeated streak clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next up, we have Mexican America.
Yeah.
There's a line in these results that is the total truth and nothing but the truth. Rosita is ridiculously hot.
Yes. Yeah.
Even though she looks like a 14-year-old.
Yes, she still looks 12, but she's a hot.
Dude, come on now! Don't say she's hot because she looks like a 12-year-old. That's disgusting.
No, I said
That's
she looks
creepy.
hot despite looking like a. I said she looks hot despite looking like a 12-year-old.
Dude, she does not look like she's 19 or 15 or anything. She looks like she's 19. She is.
She's 20 or 21. So.
Is she 21?
Yeah, I think she's 20.
No, she's 20. I mean,
yeah.
She's fine. She looks her age.
Yes, and then they do the standard.
She looks her age.
Yeah, and then they do the standard, heel faction that doesn't like the United States yet is somehow living in the United States gimmick.
And is mostly comprised of people with
is made up of a Canadian. Has a Canadian in their ranks, despite being supposedly Mexican.
1 Canadian, 3 U.S. citizens. So.
And then so they do their standard promo where they say America sucks and la-di-da. Now it comes Ink. Jesse Niels. I forgot his name. Jesse Neal. I almost forgot his name. That is how fucking forgettable these people
are. Well, that's
are.
because they haven't been on TV.
Yeah, that's not their fault. They're not forgettable. It's just they're not used.
But Jesus Christ. Okay, I know they used Jesse Neal during, what was it? What was the fucking paper? Sacrifice. Because they did the whole 9/11 tribute.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't think
he wasn't in a match. He was just in the opening part.
Yeah, I know he was in the opening, but the last time he wrestled was like
a couple months ago.
I want to say Lockdown, but I think he had a match after that.
Yeah. Back when he was doing the food stamps thing.
Actually, that was his girlfriend, his fiancée that qualified for food stamps, not him.
Yes. And she
we'll
comes
get to
out
that
later,
though.
but we'll get to that. And then. So they come out, and Jesse Neal's mohawk is, 8 stories high.
Ridiculous.
And that mohawk is growing. Jesus Christ.
No, I don't have a problem with that.
He needs an entire bottle of hair gel for each individual spike.
I don't have a problem with their mohawks and their look. I think that's great. They're setting themselves apart, and it's kind of a unique thing. And that's what people need to do in wrestling. They need to set themselves apart somehow. And they need to follow it up with some character development, but knowing TNA, they're not going to get it.
And then, so Jesse Neal says that why would if you all live in the United States, why rip on the country? Then he asks Anarchia to show off the tattoo they gave him. Is this something that happened on one of the past shows? Because
Anarchia went to get a tattoo and they attacked him in the tattoo parlor and held him down.
They implied that they put it on a part of his body that is not PG friendly or not TV friendly.
Yeah.
I do not want to see a penis tattoo, TNA. Do not show a penis tattoo.
And then Shannon Moore cut what was actually a pretty good promo and basically said that he knew something that would make them and the fans happy and told Mexican America to get out.
And then the four of them, they start fighting, and Sarita and Rosita start beating the shit out of Jesse Neal. And then Christina Von Eerie comes out.
Yep.
And starts beating the shit out of the women, and Hernandez jumps ship. Hernandez jumps out of the ring, and then they try to show the tattoo they gave Anarchia, and they pull out Anarchia. And then Jesse Neal says that Mexican America can bring all the women they want to the pay-per-view because Ink Inc. has theirs.
And if you don't know who Christina Von Eerie is, she's an indie circuit darling from out west in California. She moved to Florida a year ago, hopes of getting signed with TNA. It took them this long to sign her and debut her.
And she's going to be completely wasted.
And she probably still qualifies for food stamps.
Yeah, they signed her last year actually, but she's been She's been at the Dudley Boys wrestling school.
Yeah, because
apparently that's
work.
Yeah.
Crimson doesn't need work. She needs work.
Oh, hi, Rosie Lotta Love.
And then afterwards, after commercial break, we get Brian Kendrick and Jesse Sorensen versus Austin Aries and Kid Cash, who looks much, much, much older.
And bigger. He's back.
Can I just say that Brian Kendrick's ring gear is now very distracting?
Well, I wouldn't have a problem with it, except he debuted that little symbol on that little loincloth thing on 9/11. I'm sorry, that just bothers me because
yeah, I know, but
it's nothing against the religion, but
time and place
asking for trouble. And what is with that goddamn miniature chair he puts on his head?
Yeah, and I don't really. I don't know. There's just something about the way he looks. I'm like, dude, you look like a fucking tool.
Yeah.
Well, that's his gimmick. I think that's his gimmick. He's a tool.
No, he's supposed to be a very spiritual individual, and just comes off as a jackass.
Yeah, his old gimmick beforehand, he used to be just a Hindu meditator. He would meditate on cages, and now he's just a spiritual person.
Yeah, and he dressed like a Jedi.
Yeah, he doesn't infiltrate
what
signings anymore.
When he dressed like a Jedi, that was easy to make fun of. But now he's got the symbol on his pants, and you know how he debuted, and it's just like uncomfortable territory.
Yeah. I can only imagine there was an altercation backstage between him and Sorensen just realized, wait a minute, this guy's stoned out of his mind and doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He thinks reptiles rule the world, so it's not worth it.
Yeah, so the match itself
was okay, but I'm just going to say that Austin Aries and Jesse Sorensen pretty much carried this match.
Yeah.
And it was all right. Kid Cash, I've seen enough of him.
How old is Kid Cash? Because he looks like he's in his mid-40s.
Well, he looks like he's back on the juice.
Yeah. He's much bigger. Like, even compared to his last, TNA run back in the early 2000s, and his WWE run before he was one of the Bulldogs.
Well, he knows he won't get fired for it this time.
Yeah.
Hell, I think he was smaller.
And he is actually 42.
He was at Hardcore Justice last year, wasn't he?
So
yeah.
I think he was.
Counts as a TNA. Was he in WCW? Yeah, he was in WCW. Andy.
Yeah, he was in WCW briefly, but yeah, he was pretty much one of the first X Division guys I had when they started back in 2002.
Yeah, but he's still a former WCW guy, ECW guy that's over 40, and now...
And WWE guy.
Yeah, that's now getting TV time in TNA. So, there you go.
And now we come to the one segment that makes me not want to like this show. And it's Karen Jarrett talking.
You know what? This already starts out bad because they took all the time to give all the knockouts individual entrances. It's just saying we need to pad.
And I gotta say, Madison Rain has got to have the strongest motherfucking neck in wrestling because she nodded like a motherfucker. She never stopped at nodding.
Maybe it's like a physical tick that she has where she can't stop.
That is some muscle tone right there.
And you know what?
They need to get a spear.
I miss her not being on TV because when she came out, I'm like, Madison Rain, I haven't seen you in a while. And then she opened her mouth, and I remembered, oh, yeah, it was better then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll give the credit. First, I'll give credit to Taz. When Velvet came out, he at least changed up his stupid little catchphrase for when she humps the ropes.
Yeah, he says this time, well, let the pigeons disperse.
Keeping it classy, TNA.
Still stupid.
Pinky up. Pinky up. Keep that pinky up.
Yep. You know, I'll say.
Also, I have to say, why do they have so much vested in Velvet? She's not all that good in the ring or on the mic. And I don't, other than the fact that she has large boobs, I don't see any appeal to her.
Of the ones that are ones that are legitimately hot and blonde, she's probably the best wrestler they have.
Yeah. With TNA putting so much stock in her, I'll just say this: have you seen her ass?
Well, yeah.
It's a nice
Although someone on the forums said it perfectly. Someone I think on the forums said it perfectly. They said that Velvet Sky was TNA's version of Kelly Kelly.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can buy that.
Yeah.
They're probably, because she's never been Knockouts champion yet, and they probably want to rip off that angle where it's like, oh, she's come all this way.
You know what? I'm going to give Velvet Sky more credit than Kelly Kelly because she started out as a wrestler, not a model. And she actually does look halfway decent in the ring. She knows how to run the ropes.
And at the very least, she's
got the basics down, and she doesn't botch much. She's nothing special, but she doesn't botch.
Yeah,
although in the hotness department, she has nothing on Mickie James right here.
Yeah. But
that's my own thing.
But at the same time, she's still pretty damn good looking.
She is, but
Madison Rain is also pretty damn good looking, and unfortunately,
I don't like the thing with her tonight. Something about her looked really weird. Like she looked like her eyes were going to bug out.
She was trying to suck up to Karen. She had the perpetual suck up look on her face. And the thing is, with her, I see a lot of potential to be a very Vicky Guerrero like antagonist. If TNA knew how to push people in that way.
Yeah, and so Karen comes out and she's like, she mentions that she had to fight tooth and nail to even get this match onto the pay-per-view because nobody wanted it there, and that it was
way to bury the division, TNA.
Well, of course, and that this was a show for the upper class and not for street hoes. And she kept on targeting Velvet during it, and then Velvet gets on the mic, and I stopped paying attention.
Yeah. She says that Velvet Sky represents the scum of the world, or the scum of the earth, and all the vile losers. And Karen Jarrett says that I am a role model, and everyone looks up to me.
Well, if you didn't have the strip heels on, that wouldn't be a problem.
Who's looking up to her? I want to meet these people and hit them. And make them come back to reality with us.
Well, Madison Rain for one, but she's kind of up to everybody because she's about as tall as Rosita.
I think she might. I think she might be very slightly taller than Rosita.
Well, to Wikipedia.
While you do that, Velvet Sky says there will be a time when we're on an even playing field and we'll find out who is better. And she promises that she'll be the new Knockouts champion. Karen Jarrett says, over my dead body. And then a very weird thing happens. You see Tracy Brooks get down on her hands and knees halfway through the segment, and no one pays any attention to this. And then Velvet Sky,
despite two heels looking right at her,
very lightly.
When Angelina look right at Tracy, watching.
This is so stupid.
She very lightly, Velvet Sky very, very lightly, like finger pokes Karen Jarrett goes running backwards and makes herself fall over Tracy Brooks. And this causes every fucking person in the ring to start fighting.
And you know what? They telegraphed this so badly because right before this happens, you can see Madison Rayne and Mickie James, who are both wearing heels, by the way.
Now, Mickie James didn't take her shoes off until the fight started.
During this next part.
But Madison Rayne did take her shoes off before the whole segment started.
Yeah, but you know, for
the record, Madison Rayne is 5'3". Rosita, is 4'11". So.
Ooh.
Oh, 4'11". Wow.
But no, it's just, you know, you're watching this this entire thing. Why didn't they give the mic to Winter to, you know, let her say a few words, or to Mickie?
Because Winter's actually talented, and they don't want actually talented people to put over their fucking pay-per-view.
Yeah, have the champion speak on the Go Home show before a pay-per-view? No.
And this is going. I think this is going to be another title run like it was for Winter's last time, where she gets the title, doesn't defend it, and then in her first defense loses it.
And then immediately wins the next night.
Yeah, and it's just...
Make your title worthless.
Yeah. And so when Karen Jarrett deliberately falls over Tracy Brooks, this causes a gigantic clusterfuck of a fight to happen. And they're all very sloppily hitting each other, and then the security comes out, and as Karen Jarrett and Tracy are going back up the ramp, Karen starts screaming shit, and I could barely understand it over the piped-in crowd noise. But at the end, she says that Tracy's going to be scrubbing toilets for the rest of her life for fucking with her. And yeah, you keep believing that, Karen. Keep believing that.
But no, I will give the brawl. The brawl. It was, you know, Mickie and Winter. You know, at least they looked like they were legitimately fighting. And then you have Velvet and Madison on the other side. You know, pulling at each other's hair.
Yeah. When you look at Mickie and Winter fighting, like, they're beating the crap out of each other. When you look at Madison and Velvet fighting, and also with Angelina thrown in there, it looks like a high school chick fight.
Yeah. I guess we'll talk more about this whole Bound for Glory situation probably at the end of the show. But next we've got Brother Ray, or Bully Ray, or whatever the fuck his name is, talking about the upcoming match in which he is going to be a special guest enforcer. Does anyone give a shit?
No. And they never fucking talked about this match until this segment. They never said it earlier in the show that, hey, Scott Steiner and Ken Anderson are going to be fighting, and Bully Ray is going to be the special guest enforcer.
All right, well, let's just go right into the next thing, because I actually have stuff to say about this, because we have AJ Styles cutting a promo on Christopher Daniels, basically saying, like how many times do we got to have this match, which is pretty much a good point, and then Daniels jumps him and starts to choke him with what was that? It was an extension cord of some sort, and he's saying, he says, "Huh?"
Or I was reading down further than I thought it was, so I screwed up the item. But continue.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was an extension cord, but he basically says, "I could end this right now." He's pretty much threatening to murder AJ Styles right there. And they say that the match at Bound for Glory is going to be an I Quit match. And then as the camera pans away, we go back to AJ, who is clearly trying not to laugh.
Yeah,
He's lying on the ground with a big grin on his face, just trying to pretend like he was gasping for air.
And they've had how many weeks to edit this?
4.
Yeah,
They've had 3 or
yeah.
4. They've had, I think, 3.5 weeks to do this shit. And they fucking leave it in.
Wasn't someone corpsing in the Mexican America segment too?
Probably.
Well, somewhere, somehow, everyone corpses in every segment. They just somehow don't show a camera angle for it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like with TNA's website. They just finally got around to removing a bunch of people who haven't been with the company since at least August.
Like that's
how TNA's always been, though.
Yeah, they just removed Murphy's page, and Murphy hasn't been on TV since May or June, and they only now get around to taking his fucking image down.
Well, to be fair, it's Murphy. They probably forgot he was on there in the first place.
Fair enough.
Gunner and Gunner's pal.
Yeah. Anyways, it's time for this oh-so-epic match of Scott Steiner versus Mr. Anderson with Bully Ray as the special guest enforcer.
You know, they're probably still paying throughout all that, too.
And this match sucked.
Ugh.
So, really, what were you expecting from Scott Steiner and Mr. Anderson?
Yeah,
Oh, they didn't even
Steiner
stop with a microphone.
So this match was boring. It was pointless. There was no need for it. And the way that they...
Well, no, actually, this match did serve a bit of a purpose. Because the finish comes when Abyss runs to the ring, basically to save Steiner's ass. He takes Bully Ray's chain wallet, and he's going to clock Mr. Anderson, but he ducks. Steiner takes it instead. And, basically... Anderson gets the win off of this. And then Mortal mad at Abyss. They're like, oh, you screwed us up even though it's Anderson's fault.
Yeah, Anderson hauls ass out of there, and in comes Immortal to, start yelling at Abyss for fucking up again.
For 5 minutes.
This is padding!
And so they start beating the shit out of Abyss, and Bubba goes out and brings a table in. They were going to try to put Abyss through it. Then Mr. Anderson comes in, and he gets Bubba bombed through the table. And yay. I don't care. Abyss is apparently a face now, and...
Why did Anderson come back? I mean, he could have... Why would he care about Abyss?
If it was anyone other than Bubba Ray beating the shit out of Abyss, Anderson couldn't have been given the time of day.
But even then, it's like... It was kind of like later on where it's like, that it's not going to end well. Why did you go back?
Because Anderson's a fucking idiot. That's his character. He's an idiot.
He is a dumb retard. I mean, there's no nicer way to say it. I mean... Although one thing funny did happen with Anderson throughout all this. Way back during his intro, he put his hand up for the mic, and the mic came down about a foot away from his hand.
And I am very disappointed.
And he just stood there staring at it for a second, like, really? Like he looked up.
And I'm disappointed because that's happened at least twice before, and each time he takes the mic and says, "I meant to do that."
He didn't do it this time.
He's just like, "Nope, not going to mention that."
But as I was trying to say, I think Mr. Anderson is one of the first times in a long time, if they've done this before, where a wrestler has the gimmick of being a total idiot.
Red Rooster, what?
Well, other than Red Rooster. So then afterwards,
the legacy lives on.
You see Hogan and Sting, and I will say that Sting's Joker makeup looked much better than it has been before. It doesn't have those weird red streaks on his forehead. It actually looks professionally made. It's still shitty makeup, but it's much less shitty than
Subrick,
it's had before.
The whole point of that is for it to look like he just slapped it on and didn't care. So the red streaks on the forehead were supposed to kind of make sense in that theme. Like, he just threw shit on wherever the hell you wanted to.
Whatever. It's still Sting in the Joker makeup, so why care?
If it wasn't so blatant that every major character development Sting has had has been a ripoff of a movie character that was controversial and kind of dark.
Well, I don't remember the Crow character being, like, the character itself being controversial. I know the whole thing with Brandon Lee dying.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was something that people were talking about, and both times it was a couple years after the incident that he made that character change. It's kind of a
Sting's gimmick. Sting's gimmick is stealing the gimmicks of dead actors.
Yeah, their last major role.
Yeah. And then, so they start preparing backstage, woohoo. And then Kurt Angle goes to James Storm, and Storm's apparently been preparing for him or whatever. He says he's had a week, James Storm has, to think about how he lost to Bobby Roode. Roode said that because Angle threw him into the stairs, that may be true, but Roode still pinned him. And you people can hear how the lack of care in my voice. Because this was probably halfway through the show, and I was not giving a shit by this point.
No one's given a shit about this storyline for a long time, except for the fact that there's an actual TNA original challenging for the title for once. One other time that has happened in this company, and it was for the NWA title.
I don't
get this right, and they still have.
I don't even remember this promo.
I remember because, very vaguely I remember it.
Honestly, I don't remember it either.
I don't know. I have nothing to say.
It was so forgettable.
This is the go-home show!
On other shows, ROH, WWE, back in ECW, and even WCW, the go-home shows, you always feel kind of hyped up. Like, even if, you have that overall sense that the pay-per-view itself is going to be lackluster, that go-home show kind of gives you that feeling in the back of your mind, like, hey, I might, want to check this out. I might want to catch this.
There's a slight chance this might not suck.
Yeah.
I mean, even WCW in its worst days, they still give you that feeling of, this might not be that bad.
Yeah.
And then it was, but still. But
at least they were very good in their bait and switch. TNA is horrendous at it.
And at least when WCW got bad, you still had that, big LOL factor of the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this promo was basically Angle trying to make it look like they're setting up for a Storm heel turn on Roode.
Yeah.
And if they do this, I am going to
hate them even more than you hate them now.
I don't think that's possible. I think my head would just explode into flames.
You would evolve into Rapidash. But
yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah. But Jeff Jarrett and Gunner are standing there, not looking sweaty at all, right after they beat the shit out of Abyss. Someone's echoing.
I'll keep going.
Okay. So afterwards, Jeff Jarrett's doing a promo. He doesn't look sweaty at all, even though he just beat the shit out of Abyss. Same with Gunner. And he says that Bobby Roode's been lucky the last few weeks. Not going to have that same luck tonight. And Taz and today ran down the lineup for Bound for Glory. I will say this one thing about Taz and Tenay. They are probably the one aspect of TNA that I personally do not have a problem with. Because I feel that right now, they call matches way better than Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler or Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler and Booker T do.
Yeah.
They are much better at actually paying attention to what's happening in a match than any combination of WWE's commentators are. Because at least they don't bicker with each other about wearing a fucking bag on each other's heads.
Yeah, I mean, Taz's dick jokes kind of get irritating after a while, but I can deal with that. What I can't deal with is Chucky Ducky Quack Quack, okay?
Sure.
I don't get that. I've never...
No one does!
The hell
It's
is
a nonsense
Chucky
word that Booker T came up with. It doesn't mean anything. Fuck it. Alright? Let's just get this fucking show over with because, oh my god, we still have 2 more segments to talk about. That is 2 more segments. That's 2 segments too many for me to talk about right now.
Yeah, and we still got to go through the card for Bound for Glory, too.
Oh, fuck
Yeah.
you.
And we still got to play our favorite game.
Oh my god. Oh, okay. We have a handicap match. It is Bobby Roode versus, I don't remember, Jeff Jarrett and Gunner.
You're looking straight at it and you still don't remember who's on the card.
That is how little I remember this show. My mind is trying to forget as I'm reading it.
You have it right in front of your face and you still don't remember. That's TNA for you. But so, they come out, and Bobby Roode takes a chair, and Brian Hebner steals it away from him. And then Jeff Jarrett and Gunner look kind of stupid here because they start doing the, chase around to the back of the ring to beat the shit out of Bobby Roode thing. And then Bobby Roode, not even seeing them, jumps into the ring, and then Jeff Jarrett and Gunner sort of look at each other like, I didn't think that would happen. And then they go inside and they start fighting, and this match sucked and la-di-da.
A lot sucks about this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was okay. It was okay in parts, but it didn't really pick up as a decent match until the end, and that was only because Rude won.
Yeah, pretty much. And then I guess we'll just talk about what happens after the match, because this is what started to piss me off, because basically Jarrett and Gunner start to gang up on him, and then the rest of Immortal comes out, and then James Storm comes out, but he gets laid out too. And then who should come out to save these two but Jeff freaking Hardy?
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
Jesus Christ.
So Jeff Hardy's a face now.
Yeah, but don't get used to that.
Yeah, they'll find a way to change it by Sunday.
Earlier in the show when it was 4-on-2, they didn't have a problem beating up 2 guys. Now when it's 2-on-1, Bobby
They have a
still
humongous
wins.
problem.
It was... Well, they had Kurt, they had Jarrett and Gunner, they had Bully Ray. Was Steiner out there?
Steiner
It was still like 4
out.
or 5 on 1, and Jeff Hardy cleared him out. While Roode and Storm were down. It was like, oh my god. This should have gone the way that Anderson's run-in went. Badly.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that Hogan's been talking about the future plans for TNA. And when he was asked about Bobby Roode, he started saying, like, oh, brother, he's a nice guy, brother, but the future of TNA is Jeff Hardy, brother.
Oh, yeah, brother. And don't expect the world title match to close the show. That's the main event, but it's not closing the show, brother.
But then again, don't
closing the show.
Don't expect a lot out of Hulk Hogan's words here, because this is the guy that said a year ago that Abyss was TNA's version of John Cena.
Wasn't that kayfabe, though?
With Hulk Hogan, you never know what the fuck it is, in or out. The guy is so fucking off his rocker. But the point is, he just buried the pay-per-view. He just buried the title match. He buried the guy they're pushing for the title right now. He buried the entire last 3-4 months of the Bound for Glory series.
He buried the tag titles back last year. Remember when he did the reaction thing and he said, doesn't matter if you have 25 fake titles.
Yeah.
He buried the whole fucking professional wrestling business in one promo.
You know what's sad? His micro-championship wrestling actually has more credibility than these guys right now.
Oh, God. And they've got Brian Knobbs managing that shit. Think about that.
I haven't even watched micro championship wrestling, and I'm certain that it's better than this show.
You know what, though? The sad thing is, the way Brian Knobbs comes off on that TV show, he actually comes off as an intelligent person who knows what the fuck he's talking about.
You know, the only reason I'd say Micro Championship Wrestling is better than TNA at this point is because it's half as long.
I see what you did there. I got the joke. Midgets.
So, now then, we have Jeff Hardy and Bobby Roode shaking hands, and then we build again to a James Storm heel turn. Because he's faking letting Jeff Hardy out of the ring, and then he goes through with it, and some
grab his
stupid
hand,
shit.
And they hold his hand and they do the grab his arms and raise him into the air thing, like, yeah, this is the guy.
Was anyone else actually half expecting James Storm to beat the shit out of Jeff Hardy there?
I was hoping both of them would.
No. Why?
I said hoping. Didn't say
would. It seems like that's what they were building to, you know, the whole fake show of friendship thing.
You know, no, because the way the show goes, unless you're, you know, Samoa Joe, and even then with him, it eventually devolves into this. It doesn't matter what you've done to a person in the past, what your past actions are, good or bad. Once you turn heel, you're all in good with Immortal. Once you turn face, you're all in good with the faces. It's just like there's no distrust between the two groups, within the two groups of each other.
If there was any moment for like a Shades of Grey sort of situation, this is one of them, and they don't go through with it.
Dude, they already fucked that up when they had Kurt Angle feud with Jeff and Karen for months over Karen and Kurt's failed marriage, and all of a sudden he's friends with them.
Yeah, that's what really got me when during that beatdown before Jeff came out. You know, you've got Jarrett wailing on Rude, and out comes Kurt as nonchalant as can be, like, "Hey, it's my friend Jeff Jarrett."
Yeah.
And isn't his whole thing for turning heel and joining with Hogan in the first place being the whole Dixie didn't tell them about Jeff and Karen? Stupid DNA. Bad.
And here's actually, in terms of the transition between this segment and the next, the saddest part. I watched this earlier today on a download, and I had not looked at the timeline for half the show, and it didn't happen. So when this segment came up, when the Bobby Roode Jarrett Gunner match came up, I thought that was the last segment of the show. And then they show...
you always think that, but TNA has this amazing habit of never, ever starting their show with a match and never, ever ending it with a match. There's a half hour on either side where there's no wrestling. Always. Now, WWE sometimes does that, but they mix it up.
Yeah.
And usually when they don't do that, it's for some major thing with Vince McMahon on the sort of like manager on the front or on the end making some big announcement. And it's not a Dixie Carter. Here's a big announcement, tee-hee-hee. Oh, look, it's this guy from FCW that you've never heard of before. It's a big announcement.
But afterwards, we come back from commercial, and Jeff Hardy says he came back to apologize, and he saved the next world champion. Jarrett chews him out and says that they've been friends since the first day Hardy was in the business. Been telling him he's out of chances. Tells Hardy it's over, and when TNA has Bound for Glory this Sunday, Hardy better not take one step into Pennsylvania. And Jeff starts walking away, and then Jarrett screams at him, "Where are you going?" And then he says, "I'm gonna buy my ticket to Philadelphia." And
No. Let's get the full quote in there so the stupidity of it all rings true. I am going to buy my ticket to Philadelphia, founder. He calls Jeff Jarrett founder.
And when I watched this first, did anyone else think when they first watched this that it sounded like he said flounder?
Yeah.
Yep.
Animal
Probably because he's so stoned.
Again, I don't remember this.
I'm going to buy my ticket to TNA, flounder. There was that stupid bullshit. And now Hulk Hogan and Sting in the contract signing.
With a contract.
Yay! Then they sign the contract, and then Borash says it's official. Then Hogan said,
No, this part really amused me because Borash asked him if they have any final words before the pay-per-view, and Hogan just very lazily stands up. He's like, "Yep, is it this time? Okay, flip the table over. Come on, let's do this. Get it over with." He looks like he doesn't give a shit at all.
Well, why should he? He already said in an interview that he's not going to take any bumps.
Yeah, that says a lot. There's a lot of problems with his pay-per-view. But Hogan basically says he's been watching Sting dance around. Hogan says he's been watching Sting dance around him for 30 years, and here they are again. And have they even been in the same company for more than, 10?
no.
Well, he's going back through WCW years, too.
That's what I was asking, because I was including, when Hogan and Sting were in WCW together until now, and it's not even been 10. They haven't been in the same company for 10 years. At that, maybe.
Probably, but consecutively, no. It's Hogan talking. If he's not giving away what you can and can't expect in the future in TNA, in a match, and burying the entire fucking roster and show in a radio interview, he's just talking shit that doesn't make any goddamn sense. That's all he does.
We're just...
We so want this shit to be over, and we're very close. We're so close.
Anyway, Hogan says, he was at peace with his career, and now Sting's forcing him into the ring one last time.
Yeah, I don't...
And that if Sting wanted him, well, he's going to get the real Hulk Hogan, brother.
I just don't know where he's getting 30 fucking years, because... As far as
I don't think Sting's even been a wrestler for 30 years.
He has. That's part of the
I
problem.
don't know. I know he started in the 80s.
Started in the late 80s, I think.
Let's take a look. To Wikipedia.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up. Debut, November 28th, 1985.
26 years. Not even 26 years. 25
okay,
years.
I'll give that to him on the rounding thing, but that's still a bit of a stretch because no, he has not seen Sting wrestle for all of those 26 years. I doubt Sting was until he went to WCW.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was a big gap in between 2001 and 2006 where Sting didn't do shit.
I can give it to him speaking in general for since you've been wrestling kind of thing, but it's still a bit of a stretch. But, fuck it though. It's a contract signing in TNA.
It's a contract signing in wrestling.
In this fucking interview, in this promo.
Even WWE is getting self-aware every time they have a contract signing. We know how this is going to end. Yeah. They flat out say that. So, TNA, why? If it's getting played out in WWE, why? If WWE's admitting it's getting played out during the segment, why?
Yeah, during this segment also, Hogan says that after, the whole I've been watching you dance around me for 30 years, you chased me, and I'm chasing you, and blah-de-blah, and I came to TNA to make things right and fix the company after Sting and all the TNA originals couldn't do it themselves. Hogan, you are on something.
I've talked to RVD about this many times before, but god damn it, he just leaves his stash out where anyone can get into it, and we wind up with segments like this in Victory Road last year.
Oh my god. So, anyways, the show concludes with Eric Bischoff coming out saying that he's gonna kick Sting's ass. Honestly, at this point, I'd like to see that.
And then Hogan actually He smacks Sting with a chair, and Eric is standing on the ramp, guffawing like he's an old Looney Tunes villain. He's like, "Oh, this is awesome!" Oh, and then they fade to black, and the show's over. No one gave a fuck. This show sucked.
It really did. It didn't serve any purpose. It didn't advance any storyline at all.
It regressed, actually. It regressed people's mental capacity. This show.
We've got 3 feuds we've seen for at least since TNA has existed. 2 of which you've seen since ECW and WCW were in their primes. The rest, no one gives a flying fuck about. They've all been buried by Hulk Hogan or some other aspect. I mean, the fucking tag match between Inc. and Mexican America isn't even on the pay-per-view. It's a pre-show match.
Which is...
They're advertising a pre-show match.
Which is stupid in its own right. It seems like that should be... I get
it
why they're
available
doing
on the
it.
internet, but at the same time... God damn, that's probably one of the more interesting matches on this card, and they're not even putting it on the fucking pay-per-view.
Well, no, they need more time for Hogan and Sting.
They're going to have Hogan and Sting on there. They're going to have Kurt Angle and Bobby Roode, which has been buried by Sting. Knockouts, who Karen buried. Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn, who we saw back in ECW.
Also, I think it's worth pointing out that RVD versus Jerry Lynn is being booked as Full Metal Mayhem.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, here's what it is. It's a TLC match. There's no difference. It's just a TLC match.
Why is it?
It was the reason why is because when they did this at first, they thought up that name because they couldn't use TLC, obviously. But when they did the first one back in 2005 with Abyss and Jeff Hardy, they decided to make anything that is made out of metal legal.
Actually, let's look at how many gimmick matches there are. We've got a no DQ match in Sting versus Hogan. The Knockouts Championship match is going to be in a 4 corners match. We've got the Full Metal Mayhem.
Knockout match is not a 4 corners match. It's just a 4-way.
They did 4 corners last year. I would not put it over them to switch it at the last minute because they love the 4 corners match. We've got the Full Metal Mayhem. We've got a Falls Count Anywhere Philly street fight with Mr. Anderson and Bully Ray. And we have an I Quit match with AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels.
Plus the triple threat match of Crimson, Morgan, and Joe.
I don't want to count matches as special stipulation matches just because they have more than 2.
That's half.
Yeah.
That is half of the matches that they have, not including the tag match, which is scheduled for the pre-show. And that's also not counting the triple threat and
the 4-way.
The triple threat and fatal 4-way matches. The only singles match, straight singles match, is the X Division match.
And the title match, and world title match. So, if it's not for a title, the stakes are raised somehow. Whereas, you'd expect them to save that kind of thing for a title match. A title match is not a special gimmick match, guys. It's something where people with or without titles have escalated their feud to. And I'm sorry, but you haven't done that with any of these. Bully Ray and Anderson don't have a feud. I'm sorry, they just don't. AJ Styles and Daniels, we've seen that. How many times? Saying I quit is not going to change the match. Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam, same shit. We've seen that. In fact, if you look on Wikipedia, Rob Van Dam was a part of the match that this is based off of.
Hulk Hogan and Sting we've seen before, like 2 or 3 times actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was when, even then, that was when Hogan was, just starting to show wear and tear.
Well, he was already lazy fuck.
Yeah, and that was 13 years later, and
4 back surgeries later.
Yeah, there's no...
Within the last year.
And he won't be bumping. He won't be bumping, so there's no fucking point to having it.
No.
It's basically going to be Run-In Palooza.
Yep. We've already got 2 run-ins guaranteed.
Yeah,
in the same
because
match.
either Kurt's going to run in to interfere for Hogan because, he doesn't like Dixie, but...
No, that's going to be Jarrett. Jarrett's
so.
going to run in for that match. I guarantee you.
Actually, I think they both might.
We've got Hardy.
Who's in the title match.
Yeah, we've got Hardy who's going to interrupt the world title match.
Yeah. Jarrett's going to interrupt the Sting match. Hardy's going to interrupt the title match. Angelina is going to interrupt the women's match. Gunner's going to interrupt the Bully Ray match.
Gunner or Abyss, I figure. It'll be one of them.
Gunner and Abyss.
Yeah.
This show sucks. Let's go on to the fucking match card.
Yeah, let's start with the pre-show match. Mexican America versus Inc. for the tag titles.
It's for the titles and it's not even on the show.
I don't know.
I'm going to say Inc's going to win just because if the rumors that TNA's no longer high on Hernandez are true, they might be trying to start trying to phase Mexican America out. Please, 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 please.
Well, about fucking time they realize that Hernandez is overrated. I mean, he's nearly killed, 2 people.
Hell, isn't there a clip of him in a music video damn near killing someone, trying to border toss them?
Oh, yeah, you're talking about what happened with Doug Williams. That was in Botchamania.
Yeah.
Oh, no. There was a music video where he was...
Oh, yeah. He was in a music video and he did the border toss some girl into a pool and he almost dropped her on the fucking edge of the pool.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was standing too far from the edge and he didn't step forward, so her back came within inches of smacking, angled, right into the pool edge and almost probably killing her.
Anyway, Backlash, who do you think's going to win?
I don't know. I really want Inc. to win just because I'm kind of a Shannon Moore fan a little bit. And Jesse Neal, he's not bad.
Carolina Boys, he's the most normal.
Yeah, and I'm really just sick of this Mexican America thing. But with this being a pre-show, I know that TNA has done this before, but they haven't done it lately. I don't think they'll have a title change on a non-televised segment.
I think they're making it available to watch online.
Well, then I guess it's possible. I'm going to go with Inc. then.
It's for all 6 people that are going to be watching the pre-show.
Subrick, what do you think?
Inc. because Jesse Neal is going to impale Anarchia on his giant mohawk.
Don't worry.
Inc.
What were you going to say, Backlash?
Oh, no, I'm just, nothing.
He's finding my comment amusing.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the World Heavyweight Championship match. Kurt Angle versus Bobby Roode.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get my prediction in there.
Oh, you didn't? I think
let Burt Reynolds speak, damn it.
Damn it. My sexy mustache that I don't have anymore. I'm going to go with Inc. for the reasons Lone Warrior said. They're not high on Hernandez, and they also just debuted their new friend, Christina Von Eerie. So, no word yet on what her name is, I don't think, either.
I might keep it the same.
Random mohawk lady.
I wouldn't be bad with that. Anyway, next match.
It's better than the big fat oily guy.
Oh, God.
Nightmare.
Anyways, Kurt Angle versus Bobby Roode for the TNA Heavyweight Championship. Here's my prediction. I think Bobby Roode might actually win this, and then Eric Bischoff's going to come in and says, hey, your first title defense is tonight, and it's against Jeff Hardy.
I don't think that's going to quite happen.
Oh,
I think it's going to be Bobby Roode.
Just the right amount of stupid and right out of field.
I think it'll be Bobby Roode through Jeff Hardy shenanigans.
I think it'll be Bobby Roode with James Storm trying to help him but failing, and then Jeff Hardy being able to help him, so it kind of builds to a split between the two and a feud between the two.
I wanted to be Bobby Roode. That's who I'm going to say is going to win, but I won't be surprised at all if James Storm comes in and costs Roode the match to turn him heel.
And here's my...
piss people off.
Actually, sorry for that. Here's actually my other prediction on this. The night after, when they do the Impact tapings, Eric Bischoff, this is sort of like what Backlash said, it's going to be, Bobby Roode's going to come out. He's going to do his, victory speech. I thank the fans of TNA for supporting me and blah, blah, blah. And then Kurt Angle is going to get his immediate rematch right then and there after running through the crowd and beating the shit out of Bobby Roode. Eric Bischoff's going to come out and say, congratulations, your first title defense is right now. And then Kurt Angle wins the belt back. Again! I would not put it past TNA to do it. And
that would piss me off. That would piss me off royally.
They did that to Rhino back in 2005?
No, he held it for a few days.
Exactly. He held it for less than 1 calendar week.
Okay. Oh, still. Let's see, Sting versus Hulk Hogan. Lone Warrior?
I'm going to say, as much as I don't want it to be, I'm going to say Hogan because there's just the only way they're going to get Hogan into a position to be pinned in the first place is going to be if they hit him with a move like a DDT. And even then, there's a chance that he'll bugger his back up even more. There's just no way that with all of the rumors going around about how, they've hired him for another 2 years and he stated he's not going to take any bumps. I just don't see him winning at all. Or him losing at all.
Backlash?
I don't know. This one's so hard to call. Like, I'm pretty sure Hogan's going over, but I expect to see Dixie Carter show up at some point during this to cheer Sting on.
She has said she's going to be there. They advertised.
They'll show her in the front row again with her,
staring blankly at the turnbuckle.
Direct auto insurance,
yep.
but I use Allstate.
All right, Subrick.
Hogan, because what else are they going to do? Everything they've done is pointing towards Hogan winning. They've had him beat the shit out of Sting a couple of times in the last few weeks, and it's obviously, unless Hogan is a fucking idiot and doesn't paralyze himself in this match from just standing and punching, then they might have him do another, big return match.
Hey, botching while standing still has been done.
Rosa Mendez. I'm so pissed off. I'm not going to be on that show.
We'll get to that though. That's.
Oh, come on, Subrick. It's going to be a clusterfuck. You're going to be on the show.
No, I'm not. I'm doing a music video shoot tomorrow. I'm going to be out of the house the whole day.
Wait, tomorrow? We're doing the show on Monday.
On Monday? Oh, wait, you're doing...
There's a pay-per-view Sunday.
Oh, we're doing...
the WWE
we'll talk about this
show
later. We'll talk about this later.
Okay.
Stay in the now. Come on.
All right, anyways. Is that all the predictions for Sting?
No, I'm going to go with Sting because it's career versus company, so I think even TNA knows that this whole Immortal controls everything, brother, is kind of stale, so they're going to change it a little bit, even though nothing within the show is really going to change. So that's my prediction. They're not going to have Sting hang up the boots. Not even kayfabe.
Is Sting's career's on the line?
Yeah, it's career versus company.
I only saw in the previews for it, the promos they're doing for it, that it's, if Sting wins, he gets the company. If Hogan wins, Sting's still there, but he doesn't get the company.
No. If Sting loses, he's out of a job. Yeah.
But
feel free to change your predictions.
Nah, I'm still going with Hogan.
Yeah,
I'm
still
Hogan. Say Hogan. Okay. And they'll just bullshit.
Do we really want? Does anyone else really want to do predictions for the rest of the card? Because we got all the big matches down.
Yeah.
Let's just go right through this. The Knockouts Fatal 4-Way. I am going with Velvet Sky because they want to rip off the Kelly thing.
Velvet Sky.
Winter because I'm delusional.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
You're drinking whatever she's serving, aren't you?
I wouldn't complain.
He found RVD's stash, turned it into a nice latte, and drank it.
Yep. Speaking of RVD versus Jerry Lynn. I'm going to go with RVD.
RVD.
All right.
I don't care, so I'm not going to.
Anderson, come on, just throw something out there.
I'm just going to say Jerry Lynn just to piss you guys off.
Okay, that works. I was going to pinch you in for that if you refused anyway. Anderson versus Bully Ray.
Anderson.
Bully Ray, hometown advantage.
Anderson, Abyss gets involved somehow.
I say Anderson because Abyss is going to run in and try one last time because he's an idiot to, gain Immortal's favor. He's going to fuck up again, and then he's going to beat the shit out of Bully Ray when Bully Ray kicks him in the nuts afterward.
All right. Austin Aries and Brian Kendrick for the X title.
Ooh.
Aries.
Yeah, I don't think they want to put it back on Kendrick just yet.
I think you go either.
Really, I'm still kind of pissed that Jesse Sorensen's push was aborted.
I'm going to go with Kendrick just to be the voice of dissent.
I'm undecided. I really don't know who they would put it on.
All right. I Quit match, AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels.
AJ Styles.
Styles.
The fans.
How much, though? This is like AJ versus Daniels match number 801.
Well, TNA already quit on the two of them. So, I don't know. I guess I'll just go with, Styles. Fuck it.
Okay, Crimson versus Morgan versus Joe.
Not Joe.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Crimson.
I'm gonna say Morgan.
No, I'll say Crimson because they probably want to keep going in, giving him that Goldberg push.
Yeah. I think they've already lost it.
I'll say Morgan because he's not going to pin Crimson, obviously, and they're probably going to end up, doing a story where both of them believe Samoa Joe and, start feuding with each other and wonderful stuff like that. And then Samoa Joe's going to fade off into obscurity again. Probably going to get kidnapped by more ninjas. He's going to disappear for 8 months.
All right.
Is that all the matches?
That's all the matches. So
good.
Now it's time for everyone's favorite game.
Well, Jay Lethal isn't here anymore, so.
What gets more screen time than a midget?
What gets less screen time than Karen Jarrett?
Oh,
come on.
Less screen time? Tracy Brooks on her knees?
the X Division champion got less screen time than Karen Jarrett.
I'm gonna say Sting being able to hook in his sharpshooter thing. I can't think of what it's called now. I have a brain.
Scorpion Deathlock.
Yeah, Scorpion Deathlock. He just can't lock it anymore. So I'm gonna say him being able to hook in his own move set gets less screen time than Karen Jarrett. It was a really lackluster game.
Yeah. Damn you, Jay Lethal! Why did you leave?
Who else have they got on their roster right now? I want to do a redo on this one.
Yeah, we'll think it up for the next show we do.
I'm right now. Fuck you guys.
Let's just do.
I just want to end the show. This has been painful enough.
No, we're not ending. No.
Why don't we just do Lethal for now and then find somebody else?
Okay, what gets more screen time than Jay Lethal? A guy holding the sign that said, "I puked a little," got more screen time than Jay Lethal.
I'm going to say once again the Hulk Hogan and Mick Foley impersonators sitting next to each other in the third row got more screen time than Jay Lethal.
Tracy Brooks on her knees got more screen time than Jay Lethal.
And more off-screen time.
Eric Bischoff doing his best impression of a cartoon villain got more screen time than Jay Lethal. And with that, thankfully, this edition of the Dark Match is over with. Onward and downward to hell that is bound for fucking glory. I'm Subrick.
Kind of an ironic title for a pay-per-view this bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm Tifus.
I am Backlash.
And I'm Lone Warrior.
Good night. Godspeed. Please don't watch the fucking pay-per-view.
Kurt Angle says don't drink and drive.
Can I get a martini?
Alright, good night, guys.
You see the hat? I am Mrs. Nesbit. Snap out of it, bud!